Laozi's Mac-N-Chz. Don't get too excited. It's not what you think it is, but it's still very unique. Sorry, I'm unprepared. As usual, let me pull up the exact description here. So, kind of I love the name for what it is. It's gonna surprise you guys. It is a smooth macadamia nut custard, big stupid chunks of New York style cheesecake, and excuse my ESPN update, and more than enough white chocolate layers than one should even be eating. Macadamia nut, New York style cheesecake, and white chocolate. So obviously the Mac-N-Chz, macadamia nut cheesecake. Let's go. Custard. Remember custard. I went into great detail in the first review. Longer than I should have. Oh, let me give you all a little sneak peek here before I do too much damage. All those chunks. It's hard to tell because the white chocolate blends in with the base, but right here on top of these cheesecake chunks is that little bit right there is a white chocolate layer. There you go. Look at there. It's almost like a thick pasty type substance. We'll get into that though. So let's start with the base. As I was saying, remember all Laozi does is work with custard bases. And I love me a good custard. Dense, thick, creamy. You know, they use eggs, egg yolks to make the base. So you get this whole kind of like, I don't know if extra level of creaminess is the right word, but it's a beautiful texture in general, as long as it's done right. And this is top notch. Creamy, premium, dense. No issues here at all. So that macadamia nut custard base, it is about as close to perfect. I'm trying to get some chunks out of here so you can see. It's as close to perfect as you can get. Like it, I don't think it's fair to say it tastes exactly like a macadamia nut, like you're eating an actual nut. Fun fact, none of y'all care, but that's like my least favorite nut. Also one of my least favorite cookies. So overrated. Anyways, all the qualities of a macadamia nut are here though. It's slightly sweet, incredibly rich, and just a little bit salty. But the best part about it, and this goes into it, and this goes along with it being a custard, is I feel like I'm like biting into actual butter. Buttery, a little sweet, a little salty, rich. It's a fantastic base. Here's the deal with that, with the white chocolate layers. They're kind of, it's incredibly hard to see. Even I'm having trouble seeing it. Obviously, y'all are gonna have trouble seeing it on the camera. You can see some more chunks here. But it's obviously noticeable once you taste it. I'm gonna show you again on this chunk right here. There's a little bit, this whole glob on the very top of it. I mean, it looks like the base, but the camera will focus. That is actually white chocolate paste. But it's not like a swirl. It's kind of almost like an icing. It's almost like an icing on a cookie or a cake. It's kind of thick, almost pasty-like. And the great thing about it is, even though you can't see it, you know when you eat it. Granted, white chocolate tends to be a little buttery. There's no butteriness, at least compared to the base. However, when you eat it, it is a burst of white chocolate sweetness. Like, extremely sweet. Yeah, see, I just got a chunk of cheesecake and it had a white chocolate layer on it. Tons of sweetness. Let's get into those cheesecake, New York style cheesecake chunks though. You can see more here in the as we're near the bottom of the pint. Massive chunk here on my spoon, which that's what he said in the description. I think he said stupid pig, something like that. And it is chunky. It's everywhere. Let's talk about the flavor. It is perfect. Phenomenal. Everything you can imagine in a cheesecake. You got the little bit of graham from the crust, as you can see here, top in there. But it is ultra cheesy. See, this chunk right here is just straight cheese. Ultra, it's just like cheesecake. Not that much sweetness. A ton of tang. Tangy, cheesy. It's great. Texturally, it's very good. Not perfect, because some of the larger chunks, now granted, you have to let it temper. That's my pet peeve. Some of the larger chunks can tend to be a tad, and I'm being extremely picky, a tad too hard, a little, I don't even want to say icy or crunchy, but it has a harder than it should be bite to it. However, most of them, as long as you let it temper, which this bad boy's been tempering for about 20 minutes in the fridge and 10 on the counter, so it's been tempering a while. Once that happens, most of the chunks are like eating an actual piece of cheesecake. The cheese is soft, fluffy, almost melts in your mouth, and the graham gives you that little bit of crunch. I am a really big fan of this, if you can't tell already. The minor flaws are a few of the cheesecake chunks were a little harder than they should be. That's an extremely picky flaw comment. The white chocolate, while it was present, I could have gone for a little more. Why? Because it's very sweet, and you have a rich, buttery base, and you have a tanginess in the cheesecake. So nonetheless, all those flavors just, they vibe. They go together so well. Sweet, rich, buttery, tangy, even a little salty. Nonetheless, Mac-N-Chz is quite the unique scoop, and it gets a 8.5 out of 10.